Can you relate to the feeling of when you see a pretty girl and she's not just pretty, but she's exotic, with the kind of tough-talking, natural confidence about herself that you can't help being drawn to? That's the feeling that Jak and Daxter gave me the first time I saw it as a kid, at maybe 6 or 7 years old at the time. It was unlike anything I had ever seen, regardless of the fact that I hadn't seen much up to that point. It left an instant impression on me that I can easily recall even now, a sensation that somehow goes beyond nostalgia to simply mark a point in time when true innovation had arrived and I was able to bear witness to it. 2001 was the start of a new millennium and a new generation in video games. The possibilities for all aspects of computing were expanding in all different directions, and thus Jak and Daxter decided to do the same. The Precursor Legacy was a landmark title because of its landmarks. Its seamless open world with no loading screens interconnecting all of the environments into one organic expanse of discovery. Forget about God of War Ragnarok's cheap tricks. This was the true one-take experience. Before games like Eco and later the 2020's Elden Ring that astound us with their architecture and draw distances were born, there was the Forbidden Jungle in Haven City. If you could see it in plain view, the chances are that you could make it there too. Perhaps no game ever made had this sense of scale in full 3D, a true open world with no hidden barriers to entry. There are all kinds of symbols in literature that serve as allegories for hope and escapism. In The Great Gatsby, there's the green light at the end of the harbor, signifying a future we will not live to actualize, let alone see. Jak and Daxter has similar motifs, the stuff that other worlds are made of, where we can actualize a piece of our dreams. The little twinkle of the green light glowing in the distant night sky as the dynamic weather rolls in as a perspective marker. It tells us that we are in a land that can only be reached by the far corners of our imagination. The colors of the world, like the eco, have great synergy together. The greens and yellows, colors of the natural world, show that Jak is young and ripe, and a new platforming legacy has been birthed. The pale orange precursor rings in constant orbit complement the bright hues of the motor-mouth Otzel and his enduring camaraderie. As the series shifts tones, so does the protagonist's palette to the eerie yet elegant shades of purple. The purple gleam of the Dark Maker ship on slow approach echoes the series' descent into more mature territory. The leap from Jak 1's virgin expedition to the true legendary hero status as a world beater by the end of the trilogy, from point-to-point collectathon to multi-layered mission structure, was visionary. To go from a lighthearted kids game to guns and guts was one of gaming's major plot twists at the time. To my mind, having never played Ratchet and Clank, it was something similar to the effect of Resident Evil and, by extension, all third-person shooters suddenly having over-the-shoulder aiming. To expand upon the concepts while conserving the traditional design principles made Jak 2 one of the boldest sequels ever made at the time, back when Naughty Dog took real chances and consistently defied the odds. Notable for its demeanor and difficulty, Jak 2 was made when games demanded perfection from the player, even though they themselves were not perfect. The jank could be felt then as it can today, yet its atmosphere is unparalleled even now. It's a great deal more convincing as a true cyberpunk dystopia than the actual game with cyberpunk in its name. A game from 20 years ago set during a time paradox plot is paradoxically more advanced and futuristic feeling than the games from its own future. Jak 2 today gets compared to Grand Theft Auto for its Grand Theft attitude, but to me it's more authentic, more original than the series known for parodying movies in American social life. Of course, the groundbreaking GTA 3 was released in the same year as the first Jak entry, so it's maybe more than coincidence that the developers thought to switch gears to a more action-oriented affair. Jak 2 was quick to capitalize on those conventions, the concept of criminal activity with a spirit of rebellion. The game is even subtitled Jak Renegade abroad, but its own formula, infused with the DNA of platforming, feels more complete and more timeless. Today there are a lot of games that look and feel like GTA, clones if you will, but there's nothing in a game that ever looked or felt quite like this series. From the simple dopamine of collecting power cells as a young boy filled with curiosity for the unknown, to a futuristic shoot-'em-up as a rogue time-traveling teenager, Jak is still a platformer at heart. But the cool thing is they decided to give us guns to shoot in the middle of the traversal to increase our attention spans in the moment and our immersion. The combat is now more meaningful, more precise in Jak 2 and 3, now that Jak has a gun and can point it. His hitbox more accurate for where the player points and moves. Enemies drop health packs and ammunition, as well as other rewards for upgrades, so they mean more to engage with here. It also adds more dimension and intrigue to Jak's character now that he's a sort of renegade, as the Euro subtitle of Jak 2 suggests. And with Daxter's self-assured smugness, it's a perfect dynamic for the duo of Jak and Dax. Where Jak 1 was about the simple pleasure of solving small puzzles and obtaining the prize, the two sequels are about constructing a sandbox that feels full on its own whether or not you're there to dig. In GTA, the algorithm is just waiting for you to make a mistake, to do something illegal that will trigger a scripted police response, an appeal to realism. In Jak 2, the Crimson Guards never care if you cause a scene, so long as you don't go stepping on their toes. It's a kind of dystopic faithfulness, a fascinating landscape with an oppressive overtone. The Baron's gargantuan palace peering over the city, an insulting colossus boxing in the inhabitants like prisoners in a psychological experiment. They are hit over the head by batons as much as they are consumed by the propaganda speeches. Few levels in a game inspire such wonder as the many zones of Haven City. The slums on the waterfront, the grand bazaar where foreigners mix and mingle, the forgotten forest untapped by man's wasteful intent. The royal palace grounds as breathtaking as they are menacing. The racing stadium where losers perish like fallen gladiators. The outskirts and sewers that house old secrets and banished monsters that are scary yet somehow less bleak than the Baron's insulation. And traveling through time from the lush ecosystems threatened by the taint of environmental terrorism and greed to the future where machines and concrete replace fauna as the building blocks of our society, we see a continued trend of warning against the megalopolis and the power of governments that grow too large for their own good. Jak 3 continues this theme of a future without a cause by destroying most of the glorious sights to behold from Jak 2, thereby putting some of the waste cases out of their misery. Despite the letdown of the city being destroyed, there's awesome continuity from 2 to 3 and new wonders yet. With the literal wasteland desert to explore, the monk temple and the remains of Haven City, its catacombs and the KG robot factory, give Jak 3 an epic feel unto itself. My personal favorite game in the series, it's a lot more refined in terms of its mechanics, with improvements to the jetboard, the driving, and a huge upgrade to Jak's arsenal. Just playing around with these tools of destruction and the classic video game cheat codes is pure fun. Where GTA is about satire of modernity and the nausea of living through it, Jak is more Laurel and Hardy, complete with goofy celebrations, outrageous one-liners from Daxter, and taunts from him too. Daxter is there for comic relief, not to fight like the eco-freak, but there are instances in which Daxter does serve a function in gameplay, like when he handles the weaponry during a drive-by while Jak mans the vehicle, and when he fits into tight spaces made just for him. He's not the best secondary character in terms of gameplay, but the vibe and personality could not be complete without Max Casella's Daxter. And for that, he's one of the very best and most recognizable deuteragonists in game's history, if not the true protagonist of the series. Jak and Daxter sounds like one of those games that would be an obscure title if it wasn't such a household name based on its inherent quality, but just spending 5 minutes with it is enough to fall in love. It's full of timeless set pieces and memorable moments, more of the best hits of Naughty Dog than just the precursor to their mainstream success. It's one of gaming's best trilogies, the true legacy of Naughty Dog's Lost Frontier as a developer.
More women? Diagonals are Class 2 losers a thing or two, huh?
I saw. You drifted a little high in the turns a few times, but you hung in there. I'm proud of you, Dax.
Really?
Yeah, you did great.
No, we did great. Right, partner?
Daxter,
Yeah.
now we can't change you back.
Don't worry about me, baby. You know what they say. Big things come in small packages. You don't know what you're missing.
Back to Jak and Daxter.
Listen, if you need something to keep you busy,